Hello everyone! Earlier this week, Garden Simulator was released for the Nintendo Switch, a game where you sow, water and harvest your crops and successfully create a pleasant place with gnomes, portals and fountains. But the game has already been on the market for a while, as it was made available for PC back in 2022. So now, a year later, there is finally a console version. If you want to buy the game, it's available in Nintendo's eShop for $27, and in this video I discuss how the game is experienced on the handheld console and whether it is worth buying. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, I review new games every week. At the beginning of the game, we are told why we should take care of and develop a rundown garden. The background story is about someone who feels burnt out from his day job and gets the chance to take over his aunt's farm. So now you're standing there, in the middle of a farm with two empty hands. Time to work. So the aim of the game is really quite simple. Create a nice looking and financially sustainable farm by selling plants and crops. To do this, one must first get rid of the grass and create a garden plot by plowing with a spade. Then you buy different crops that you plant and water with your watering can. After the crops have grown, they can be sold by clicking on them. It's also possible to produce crops of high quality by applying fertilizer. The range of goods is relatively extensive, but most of them are locked and cannot be bought. But this is where the game's quests come into play. You get various missions that generate capital if you complete them. The assignments are usually linked to gardening, where you have to grow a number of crops in order to match what is asked for. With the money, you can then buy flowers and crops that may be needed to unlock new things, for example, new plants and crops. But it's also possible to invest in more efficient tools, new watering cans and lawn movers. In addition, you can buy more land, so in the end you can use all the land that surrounds the house. Personally, I see this as one of the more interesting aspects of the game, that you work towards a clear goal and manage to unlock new things. Since you're initially considered inexperienced, there is a skill system in the game. By working in the garden, you get experience points. When you reach a new level, you can spend points to become better with the lawn mower or watering or how fast you harvest. You can put a maximum of 10 points in each skill, and you have to play for quite a long time to reach the maximum in all skills. Since one's garden can become relatively large over time, there is definitely a relevance to also develop yourself and become faster at carrying out certain chores. But even though you can become really good at watering, there is the option of buying sprinklers after a while, and these basically replace the use of a watering can. So in this way you can think about which skills you prioritize to max out before others. The controls feel pretty standardized for being a three-dimensional simulator. You can run and you can run fast, you can jump and move 360 degrees and sideways. Nothing new here, but it works smoothly. However, what I perceived as problematic in certain situations was when you had to harvest certain crops. You had to be exactly on the dot to be able to interact with the object, something that felt hugely frustrating as it seemed like it differed by a single pixel. But I also want to add that in the menu there are the most basic options for customizing the control, which is good. You can change the sensitivity of the control and invert the Y-axis. You can also set the field of view if you want to experience the game from a deeper perspective. Garden Simulator might suit those who don't have a real garden to look after, and in a simulated version you can now create an environment with plants, flowers, gnomes and stylish hedges. It may also attract those who want to expand their collection of different simulators, whether we are talking about buses, planes, homeless people or other games from the genre. Maybe this can fit in a game library full of simulators, but at the same time I want to point out that this is a relatively monotonous experience, where it becomes clear quite quickly what this is all about, namely unlocking different flowers, crops and other things to create just one big garden. I definitely wish that there was an extra dimension to this game, something that I now feel is missing. For example, that you could interact with more character than just your cat, that there had been a visual night and day cycle, and that there were seasons, that you could grow different crops depending on whether it was spring, summer or autumn, and of course that you got away from your farm and could visit other places. It gets a bit long-winded in the long run, that you see the same farm every day. no dramatic changes are to be expected. But in contrast to this, I still want to highlight that you can create a beautiful garden based on what is available to buy. So if you appreciate gardens and are creative, this game gives you the opportunity to experiment and create a lush and beautiful place. In addition, I want to highlight that this is a relatively realistic simulator. It follows the rules pretty well for how to plant and sow, and how you then have to wait until the crops are fully grown. All items available are what you would expect from typical gardening, such as shovels, watering cans, sprinklers, lawn movers, and other gardening related items. So in many ways, this simulator feels relatively realistic. The game also feels stable. I haven't experienced any crashes or frame rate issues. Even though I have planted a large garden, it feels as if everything is going well. Playing handheld also works well, although the text may turn out to be minimal. I don't want to go as far as to say that it ruins the experience. The text is still clear to read, albeit to the smallest extent. The price is set at $27, which I consider to be far too high. I recommend waiting until the game goes on sale at a discount, if that ever happens of course. There is nothing wrong with the basic idea of the game, but it would need a bigger suit to match the current price. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I review new games every week. Have a good day. See ya!